All right, in some of my recent content, I've been kind of hinting at interview questions, and I wanted to break down some of my favorite interview questions in today's quick cast. Now, the disclaimer here is that these interview questions are for last round interviews. So, quick little debrief. We have a 4 stage interviewing process. So people apply to the job posting, then they get sent a questionnaire. They have a first round kind of quick interview that's a little bit more focused on their technical competencies. And then they have the second round interview, which is what I do. This is for our virtual administrative, executive, and operations assistant roles. So I'll handle that second round interview for any VA that's coming onto our team. And this interview is more focused on soft skills, character traits, personality, and all of the deeper insights that really tell me if not only they can really execute on the work with clients, but evolve and work well with our clients. That's the kind of disclaimer there. So here are my top 3 kind of favorite questions. Now, also, second disclaimer is that these interviews tend to be a little bit more conversational and casual. I will do some more videos in the future on best interview practices. Overall, though, I like conversational interview styles because it really starts to break down the walls with some of our candidates, and I get more honest and raw answers, and I really get to know them as a person versus hearing very scripted and rehearsed answers. Like, that's just not going to give me the insight I'm looking for. All right, so the first question I love asking is, when you think of your past coworkers, peers, or managers or clients, which one of those have annoyed you the most? Now, the reason why I like this is twofold. I frame it to the candidate as saying most of us can think of what our ideal utopian situation is, but I think it's equally important to know what you are definitely trying to avoid. So that phrasing also helps the candidate get really honest with me, and that helps me, whatever their answer is, really helps me understand what kind of clients they cannot work with, and if any of our clients are even going to be a fit for them. But it also gives me insight into how they describe what the actual problem is. So typically candidates will respond with something around communication or micromanagement. So I want insights into what they think micromanagement is and how they navigate that. There's usually a follow-up question there. And if they talk about communication, then I want insights into how they handle clients that are difficult communicators. Because a lot of the clients that work with us are just horrible at responding to texts, emails, etc. You have to ping them multiple times on something to get a response sometimes. And if they find that extremely annoying, you probably are not going to be able to work with most of our clients. So I need to understand not only what they find frustrating, but how they deal with that frustration. The second question I really like to ask is there anything you would change about how you performed in your last role? Most candidates are not prepared for that question, so I do kind of want to see how they think on the spot. I also want to see how they self-reflect. Sometimes I get candidates that talk a little bit more about their team members rather than how they performed. Or they'll say something that's maybe a little bit passive aggressive, like, oh, I would have, learned to let go of a problem sooner. Well, usually that's indicating that you don't know how to phrase problems in a solution-oriented way. You don't know how to effectively collaborate with your team, or there's something hidden there. Again, there's follow-up questions that I want to ask here to really understand what they mean. But the big point is, how are they phrasing the problem? Are they phrasing it in a self-reflective way? And have they found solutions to fix that performance issue moving forward? And that gives you much more insight than what's your biggest weakness. All right, then this third favorite question, it was kind of a toss-up, but I landed on, can you tell me a time when you took initiative on something? Now, admittedly, usually I like to ask very unique questions that people have not rehearsed and practiced their responses for. This one, maybe you're going to get somewhat of a scripted response because it is a little bit more common. But it's really important when we're evaluating anybody taking on an admin, executive, or operations role to really understand what initiative looks like for them. When I'm listening to their responses here, I really want to understand how they speak up about a problem, how they think about the solutions for the problem, and then how they go about implementing. But then the other piece I'm listening for is, have they dealt with big problems before? So sometimes the initiative that they're taking, the example they'll give me is on a very small project, small scale, and it's just not what we're looking for. Like if you've organized files before, awesome. A lot of our clients need that, and there's definitely clients that's the first task they have any VA focus on, is just organizing the heck out of their files. But I want to hear something more than that. If that's the first thing that comes to mind, is like that's your showcase piece of initiative, it's just not a big enough thing for what our clients are looking for. Now, that third question was a toss-up between another question. So I'm going to throw in a fourth favorite here. And it's, what's something that you feel really confident in? Something that you might be better at than others. Now, this is a set-up question. I'm setting them up to sound arrogant. And I want to hear, can they be confident yet humble? That's a huge thing in any supporter role. I'm really listening for ego in this question, because in a supporter role, there's really no place for ego. You have to be able to stand up to your clients a bit and challenge them, because we do work with quite visionary and ambitious people, and they need someone that can push back when they're kind of all over the place priorities wise. But that doesn't excuse any kind of ego or pride. So I am listening for how they phrase it to see if there's any kind of ego. But also, I think it's just a fun question to really get to know somebody, because usually when I ask this, they're going to tell me something that they kind of nerd out on, and you're going to see them blush a little bit and get excited. And I want to see that in a candidate, and it also helps them feel good in the interview. So those are my 4 favorite questions to ask in second round interviews. Again, that's when we're evaluating more soft skill and personality traits versus the technical skills. That's more in our questionnaire and our first round interviews. So this is for soft skills. And also there's more follow-up questions. There's more personal questions that we'll ask throughout the interview, and we're keeping it conversational. So it's not always a scripted list of questions, but the key here is to know what you're trying to find out, to know what red or green flags you're listening for, because then you can keep the interview structure pretty flexible. All right, I hope that helps you interview your next assistant. And if you're looking for an assistant and don't feel like going through the whole interview process, then hey, we can help you with that. Just go ahead and book a call with us, and we can get started on your assistant journey, whether you're looking for a contracted remote virtual assistant or you're hoping to find a W-2 hire. We can help you. You can book at our OXO website at auxosvs.com/book. And I'll catch you next time on Strategy, Solutions, and Sandy.